Good morning. It is Friday, May the 1st. New month. All those April showers, they're supposed to bring us May flowers. But you might also know this as May Day. That's May Day, not May Day. Because sometimes that little space makes a big difference. And that's what we're talking about today. We're all about space. It's FAQ time. Fred and Barney, still in the tank, still doing their fishy business in there. I have one important FAQ that's been asked this week. It's all about distance. A little bit of space, right? We know that. Space, a little space makes all the difference. Well, those of you who have spent any time in the studio, you know I'm not really big on rulers. I don't tend to measure things terribly much. I'm just gonna eyeball it. Not because I don't care how long things are, but because, well, I don't care if they're too big or too small, generally speaking. We just go with it. But in the case of a pandemic, a little bit of distance is important to have some amount of accuracy. So I want you to know, I pulled out the measuring tape. Well, first I consulted some Live Well personnel. I said, at the count of 3, put your hands 12 inches apart. Look at them. It's like they all just caught a fish, isn't it? Right? No accuracy there. So I got out the measuring tape and I found the perfect candidate. This is Jake. Jake from security. His arms are exactly 6 feet. Well, really, they're 6 feet 3 inches, fingertip to fingertip. But consider he's got his hands closed. That makes it perfect, right? 6 feet. So when you are out and about among your fellow residents here at Westminster Village, if trying to imagine 6 feet, you could always try and imagine one Jake. Something to think about. Stay one Jake apart, people. And it's time to move on. Okay, here we are. Our segment number 1. I have a special guest. I recognize him. You might recognize him. Say hi, Mitch.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. And we are in the front entrance, so a lot of people are going to be going in and out as we go. Sorry about that. So, okay. Start with art towel. Always an art towel, right?
Yep.
Neat and tidy. Okay. Do you recognize this product?
Is that, it's paper.
Yeah, but what kind of paper?
Parchment paper?
Yes, wax paper.
Wax paper.
That's close.
Shoot.
That's not one you would know really very well. All right, so wax paper down. And then here, you want to take this and tape the corners down. See, tape on a straw.
Okay.
That's single-use tape.
I tape what down?
Well, you unroll the tape.
Okay, unroll the tape.
And tape the corners of the paper down on the towel.
Oh, I see.
Okay, just, yeah, oh, here.
No, it's okay.
There. Oh, well, you gotta tear the tape.
Oh. Oh, I thought you meant the, okay. Okay, no, I got it.
Okay,
Hang on.
all right, he's got it now.
This will take his hot
He's
second.
gonna, there we go. He's gonna, we don't have to, all right.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, okay.
There's one.
Just tape the corners down, that way they don't run around on you. There you go, here, I'll lift this up. I'm really bad at this camera thing, you notice that?
Yeah, you're pretty bad.
Yeah, okay, all right.
That might just be technology in general.
Yeah, it might be. How long do you think it's been since we've made art together? It's year 22.
Well, in Oma we made art together.
Oh, we did make art in Oma. He's right. We made art together in Oma.
All right.
All right.
There we
4
go.
corners taped down.
are taped down onto the cloth here.
Okay, so our project, I don't know if did I say this? Our project is about negative space today. So, Mitch,
Say that.
I didn't say that. Our project is about negative space. So in your kit, you're gonna get a paper plate like this, and you're gonna get 3 colors of paint. I have picked the green colors because, well, I just happen to know that Mitch likes green.
I do like green.
He does like green. Okay, so you're gonna start first with your darkest color. I know that seems strange, but start with your darkest color. There you go.
That's a lot of paint.
That's a lot of paint. Okay, so use your roller here. Roller. foam brayer, but roller. Roll it and load it up with green paint.
Okay.
Like it's like painting a wall. It's about that complicated.
But instead it's wax paper.
Yeah, it's wax paper on a table in the entryway of your workplace, because that makes a lot of sense.
All right.
Okay, so now
Got
paint the wax paper. All right, paint the wax
Doesn't
paper all over.
matter.
Nope, like you're painting a wall. Hi Shirley, good to see you.
Were you just outside, or
Oh,
were you just outside hanging out?
yeah.
All right, then I can just let you know.
Out walking.
Oh, here, Mitch is gonna do his job for just a minute.
So,
You're good.
All right, there you go. All right, so now we're gonna do
that's
the
your
next color.
mom, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so here's your next color. I'm gonna squeeze it on the plate. I've gone with a lighter color. I got a kind of a blue-green now. It's kind of hard to see. There you go. Okay, so you're gonna pick up paint there.
That is definitely a teal color right there.
Teal color. Okay, sorry, teal color. And you're just gonna paint that right over the top of it
Okay.
again. That's about it.
Seems to be using a lot of paint here.
Yeah, that's okay. Hi Cheryl.
Hello.
We're recording. Do you want to
Are
say
you?
anything interesting?
At the front desk.
Well, we gotta go where it can go. Okay, that's good. You're good. All right. Now I'm gonna do one more thing. I'm just gonna take this. I'm gonna put it one more time on here. Okay.
That's interesting.
It's a bright green.
Call that safety green.
Safety green.
Yeah. Never mind. No, not safety green.
All right. So roll it on there. Don't try and mix it too well. Right. Just
Just make it like a streak.
just paint it on there. Yeah. There you go. There we go. All right. Here I'm gonna tip this. All right. I'll take that.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna tip this down. See, here we go. There it is. We have got on the front desk here at Westminster
That's green.
a green painted piece of wax paper. It's very, very elegantly painted. All right, and so now we've got this, what's a peacock feather?
Peacock. Yeah.
Yes, the peacock feather.
Yeah, peacock feather.
Okay, so place it anywhere on the wax paper that you would like to place it.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just gonna place it right. Right.
All right, that's good. Okay. Ooh, I forgot something kind of critical. Do you have any paper up here?
I don't.
Oh.
Only sticky notes.
All right, well, you're on the video. Do you mind being on the video? She doesn't mind being on the video. All right, hello. Okay, so here, you're gonna get a piece of paper. You're gonna place a piece of paper down on the wax paper. Now just rub all over the top surface of that.
Okay.
Just rub.
So just a play-by-play here. I'm currently rubbing the paper all over the this thing that we've made.
Yeah, he's taking a print. There we go. Good. He's taking a lot of care, getting all the cracks in
Yeah.
places, paying attention to detail. All right,
And the feather is under this piece of paper right now. Too,
Yeah.
Just so you know, so they're little bumps.
it's all in there. Okay, here we go. So, peel the paper off now.
Okay.
Ta-da!
Wow.
Now turn that around and show everybody on the
Okay.
camera land. Okay, see?
Pretty
You got
cool.
it, cup. There-
Oh.
Oh, there you go. See, the
Wow.
white part is the negative space. Yep, there you go. Okay, but what's exciting about this? I know, he doesn't look,
It's negative space because it's white.
is that it? All right, well here's the next part. So we get to do this again. I'm gonna show you all something cool. I just peeled the feather off.
I'm still holding this.
Yeah, just keep holding it. Okay, so this is kind of cool. Look, can you see through it?
I can, yeah.
Yeah, you can see through it. You can kind of see through it on the camera. Let me turn it the other way. No, that's not any better. Okay, there you go. You can see through it this way, and the feather print, so we actually can make art out of the wax paper and out of the card, off the paper. And this is what I want to show you. This is the cool outcome. Are you ready for a cool outcome?
Yeah.
I made this before, obviously. So this is the wax paper, and this is the negative print. Isn't that cool?
That is
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's our negative space project. I am Rachel. That is Mitch. Thanks for joining us. Okay, it's time for Let's Make Art ceramic version. So we have a bunch of these great little vases. So it might be hard to tell on the screen, but this is about 6 inches tall. It is just at the perfect stage of leather hard right now, and I'm kind of making sure to keep those nice and wet. Those were thrown for us by Lynn Corrigan. It's a part of what she threw for us. I love an arts community that's kind of come together for us to give us a hand right now. And we have these, and in the interest of our theme today, just a little bit of space, sometimes the smallest little spaces make the biggest difference to the outer appearance of something. So this is a lovely little vase, but take a look at how it looks once it's pierced. You see that from the inside. And all of a sudden it begins to be just a little bit more interesting. So you can see here I've done these a little bit looser, and I've done these a little bit more compact, and I've just kind of put them in there. So I want to point out to you that I haven't done any kind of pattern or anything else. Now ultimately what I would like to do with this vessel is do the rim all the way around, and I might like to do something a little bit interesting here around the throat of it to give it some type of design. So I might come in and do like a little V down or something and pierce into that V. What I want to make sure that I do is make sure that the vessel stays intact so that I don't break the rim. That's a possibility. But also so it's usable as a vase, so that means that we want it to be able to hold water so we could put flowers in it. So I like, in particular, this type of vase with very simple flower arrangements. So some lovely little roses, or even at the end of the summer, you know, when the hostas and everything is really up and running and you just have kind of a bouquet of green. This is the type of thing that I like to have. And these holes make for some interesting glaze process, because of course some glaze is going to interact with those holes as well. So I want to show you how this is done. There's not a lot of tools for this one. I have a sponge, I have a little hand drill, and I have this variety of needle tool with this pencil end on one end. So what I'm going to do is just simply holding it so that my hand is underneath. This isn't sharp, remember, so it's not going to hurt you. But I'm going to come in and drill. I'm going to try to do this so you can see. I'm going to come in and just drill my little holes. And all that is I just twist. And it takes almost no pressure. So I want to point out to you that I'm just doing that with 2 fingers. Oh golly, hopefully you can see. It's a little bit hard to do over my shoulder. All right, all I'm doing is just putting that down and twisting. Right? So if I just leave it like that, it doesn't look all that compelling. It kind of look like holes, right? But if I come in and use this tool then, and I poke it in the hole and kind of round it out a little bit, see how I get a much, much, much nicer finish? I like that finish a lot better. It looks a little bit more like I meant it to be there. And I would repeat that same process on the inside, just to round those holes out. So that's it. This is a little bit of a tedious task, I suppose, but it's very satisfying when you get all the way around and you realize, look at that, isn't that gorgeous? I love the light shining through that. And once it's all glazed, that's kind of what you're going to end up with. And I want to point out to you that they're not all the same size. There's a lot of variety to that. So we do have a lovely number of these vases, and I'm calling this the lace vase. So you can come in and pierce the top rim of it. I mean, heck, if you want, you can poke holes in the whole thing, you know. I mean, I'm always flexible with what you might want to do. But these are the ideal shape for just doing the rim. So that's what I'm kind of explaining in this particular project. So these are available. I think I have 10 of these little vases available. They're terribly sweet. And if you have another technique that you'd like to use on one of these vases, why, of course, just let me know. I'm happy to send a couple your way. We probably have a week if they're going to be at the correct moisture level. So for those of you who are not interested in ceramics, good news, this section's over. We'll move on to the next thing. And it's project number 3. Last but not least, we're going to talk about a glass project. That's right, I said it, glass. Fused glass has been a long-running popular program here at Westminster in the studios. But I've always had to do it in the studios, right? Because it seems unwise to send out piles of broken glass to people's homes. At least I feel like it's unwise. So in trying to figure out how to reintroduce glass in a way that could come to your home in an art kit, well, I just threw a bunch of things in the kiln to see what would happen. And mostly, it was a pleasant surprise. So here's our first project. And this plays off of something we've had donated in large quantity to the studio. Thank goodness. If you know, if you've spent any time with me, you know I've been interested in learning how to do lamp working, which is where you melt rods of glass over an open flame. It'd be commonly used for bead making, and I'm interested in learning to do it just personally. I think it'd be really interesting and fun. But I'd also really like to bring it here to Westminster. I just haven't figured out the whole torch thing yet. I try and avoid lighting studios on fire in a general rule. But I received a donation, actually several donations of different sizes and shapes of these glass rods that you would use for lamp working, and I've kind of been holding on to them, waiting for the right occasion. But along with those, I've also received quite a bit of this type of thing. And what these are broken rods. A little bit longer one. And the broken rods are, well, they're a little bit less useful for that purpose. And I was trying to figure out a way to use them. And so this is a coaster frame. I don't know why I had this. I had this at home in my living room. I don't have anything I would use a coaster for at my house. But anyway, here we go. This was a good space to fill. See what I did there? Space. So this is just a little piece of copy paper. It's a liner and it fits down in there. It keeps everything from sticking. And then what we would do, and I've got a couple pictures here I took as I was going along, kind of a little mini tutorial, but basically you'll get a container from me of these little pieces and you'll figure out how you would like to align them on your piece. Fill that little guy in there. It's hard to do upside down and backwards. All right, well, there we go, that works. So I would proceed to fill this whole thing in. Sorry, my phone is binging. I guess I should have that on silent right now. Anyway, we'd fill this whole thing in with glass. And then this is kiln paper, shelf paper. And this keeps it all from sticking to the kiln shelf. It's a very good thing. We don't want things to stick to the kiln shelf. And so what we do is take one of my favorite commodities, as you know. Oh, that's right, Elmer's glue. And you spread it inside of this square. And we use this instead of our normal glass tack adhesive because it's got a little more body. It's a little bit gummier and stickier. So we coat the inside of the square with Elmer's glue. Pretty good coat. Put it down on top of this. It all sticks together. We flip it over, lift off the mold. Ta-da! It is, that was just my liner. It is ready to fire. And then we end up with this beauty. So this is a little bit glass meets jigsaw puzzle meets high temperatures. So really I'm pleased with this, and this, depending on how much clear you have, these would be great of the nightlight covers. They're exactly the right size and shape, and I actually kind of like this irregular edge, but they also could be used for some other things. Really, the sky's the limit when it comes to using these beauties. But not satisfied with that, another thing I stuck in the kiln was this. That's right, those little tiny seed beads. We've had tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands perhaps of these little beads. Why? These are just the white ones. There's more than just a few there. Well, what's great about them is they're all glass. I had no idea, though, how well they would fire. And the answer is beautifully. I've got a picture here on the screen to show you what this looked like. So same process. We use this little mold. That's right. We fill the space. First with these little kind of loose beads. And you can use any color. I've got everything under the sun. And then I dumped some clear on top of those. The glue on the shelf paper. Put it down on top of there. I'm not going to flip this over because there's no glue. It would be a giant mess. But flip this whole thing over. And you can see a picture of it here. And then when it returns to the studio, I will put a clear glass cap on that to give it a little bit more heft, a little bit more weight. And so I think that there's some really fun opportunity to play with these products. Also clean out my shelves. You know I'm all about that. But have a little bit of fun with filling a space. And that is our third kit, and it's time to move on to what's new in the studio. So what's new in the studio? A couple things to tell you about today. First of all, I'm excited to finally show you the quilt. I think I have all the pieces cut together, coming together. You know, I'm not really a quilter. In fact, after I did the last one, I said I would never do another one. So you'll notice I'm doing another one. But I really like the way these colors have all come out. This is almost all of our sunflower panels. I had a couple of others that I'm going to use for a different project, but I do still have one left. I have one sunflower left if you're interested in participating in this one. But I think this will turn out to be a nice size kind of crib quilt when it's all put together. And I think that dark kind of red color will be nice for the bias tape trim. Not really sure. If you have opinions about the color scheme that I've put out here, you have ideas, I would really love to hear from some of our regular quilters. It might save me from well, making a less than desirable product here. Other things that are new here in the studio. I can't really show you a clear table very well, but back in the back corner of the studios, we have specific clean stations now for residents to come in and work when you have appointments with me. Remember, the studios are available by appointment only right now. I don't know how long that will be the case, but if you'd like to come in either to check on a project, work on a project, I'm giving some amount of one-on-one instruction as best that I can. But you come in through the main entrance, check in, do the check-in and screening process, and when you have an appointment with me, you can walk directly into the Live Well Center through the buildings. And those appointments are typically lasting 30 minutes to 1 hour, but I do need you to schedule them in advance. And when you come in, I will be ready for you. The table will be freshly cleaned and ready for you to work. And for a while anyway, that's going to be our standard operating practice here in the studios. But you are welcome. I look forward to seeing you. Also, we just this week resumed face mask sewing again. And by we, I mean Mary Elizabeth. She's resumed face mask sewing again. I have resumed cutting fabric for face masks. That's a different thing. In fact, if you have any interest in assisting us with this, we could use some additional volunteers to sew face masks, and we have all the supplies here in the studios to share with you. But it begs the question. I've seen a lot of different people wearing face masks around here, and we're not really sure how to wear them. So I wanted to show you, this is the correct wearing, right? Up, over the nose, over the mouth, completely covering. It should feel a little bit snug. This one's perhaps a little bit loose for me. On the screen right now, I've put up the CDC, well, they've given us directions on everything. So of course also on the wearing of face masks correctly. So I'm doing this specifically to show you because a lot of times my glasses get fogged up. So here I've learned this trick. If I just tuck it up a tiny bit higher, ta-da! My glasses don't get fogged up when I talk, which is helpful because I'm not particularly good at not talking. And that is what's new in the studio. For art on the internet. With the space theme, there are kind of some interesting things out there. I've had a good time looking this up. So we have, first up, a museum in The Hague, of course is in the Netherlands, Escher in the Palace. So MC Escher, of course, was well known for his works using tessellations and other he really plumbed the depth and breadth and width of space and negative space. So if you go to the website I have here on the screen, you might be tempted to click on the virtual tour of the museum. which is cool, but it's actually not very accessible. It's one of those where you kind of get in it and it'll zoom you around like you're walking through the halls of it, but you can't zoom in or look closely at much of the art. So I didn't find it to be very satisfying. I was more frustrated by that. But if from the home page of this website you scroll down just a little bit and you go to the timeline, it's phenomenal. It starts, of course, with his birth and goes through his death. And line by line, you can look at this timeline. It's brief but thorough. Beautiful pictures of him and his wife and son George, and also of his art. And it's an interesting progression, how he developed his craft throughout the course of his lifetime. So I highly recommend that one. I was fascinated by it. I had more than a cup of coffee over that one. So I really recommend stopping and taking a look at that one. Even if you're not familiar with the work of Escher, you will become a fan. And if you are a fan of his work, well, brace yourselves. Okay, so up next, this is a little bit of a stretch perhaps, but we've been talking a lot about space, but now we're going to talk about space as in outer space. So I did not know, but NASA actually has played quite a role in the arts since 1962. They opened up, they started commissioning artists. They opened up a section of NASA for the curation of art connected to space and space travel. So the website is here on this person's screen. Hopefully it's showed up right there. So much happens in editing. Who knew? Anyway, and then I love this quote. I wanted to show it to you. Space travel started in the imagination of the artist, and it is reasonable that artists should continue to be the witnesses and recorders of our efforts in the field. And that was kind of the justification for it, which I think is, there's been a lot of conversation about science and art and being at odds, but the reality is NASA is proven among many, many other people that science and the arts make the best of bedfellows. Anyway, the 1962 commissioning of art began a history of allowing artists really unusual behind the scenes access to NASA and their operations connected to the day-to-day work. And also kind of the more profound moments as well. So anyway, I think that you really will find this to be interesting. Most of the art is at the National Air and Space Museum, and also NASA has a large collection of it. But if you go to the Air and Space Museum here and take a look, either go to the Air and Space homepage and just search for art collection, or on this URL you can see it take you directly to the art link. There's some really fantastic work up there, really interesting perspectives, and I would encourage you to also take a look at that. So that is art on the internet about space this week. It's time for another edition of Jokes with John. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So we're working on a space theme today. Let's see. Space jokes. John, I really, really like the rotation of the Earth around the sun. Do you know why?
That don't make much sense, but why?
It makes my day.
Well, actually, the rotation of the Earth around its axis makes your day. The rotation of the Earth around the sun makes your seasons.
Okay. Isn't it just kind of fun when your children are smarter than you? I'm just going to put that out there. I know you all know what I'm talking about. All right, Mr. Smarty Pants, what's your joke about space?
Well, I was considering throwing a space party, you know.
You were? How do you throw a space party?
Well, I know this is going to sound obvious, but you really just have to plan it.
Okay. What do you think, Francis? Good joke?
She nodded a little bit. That counts.
Show and tell. So it was kind of an interesting week here in the studios. First things first, I have to show you these great images of wreaths. These are the egg carton wreaths. There are most of them. There's still a couple that aren't on here, but hopefully they're running across your screen right now as I babble words in the background trying to fill the space so that you can see all of them. How am I doing? Yeah. They're beautiful though, aren't they? And I like how they're also very different. A couple of these came or returned to me without names, so I don't know who they belong to. So if you see a wreath here that looks like it could be yours, please let me know. The other thing is I have one other person who didn't have quite enough flowers, so I'll return yours to you and you can paint some more flowers to add to it. But I think they're a fun bit of spring that we ended up with these wreaths. We also had a couple different people working on the Klimt's project still. We still have some of those coming in. So these are just going to make gorgeous cards, and this thin paper is really fun to work with and making those. And this isn't very glamorous. I have to show you this. The kiln is about ready to run, which is great news. We're about ready to put a glaze load in. That's up next. It should be happening, actually, hopefully, when you're watching this, it's running hot. I'm trying to get it loaded yet today, filming. But I've had a number of people step forward and offer to glaze some of these ceramics coming out. And so this is one that Marge and Mario took on. We've got a whole lot of those, a whole kiln load, actually, which is remarkable given we have not had class in, I don't know, 5 or 6 weeks. I've lost track. But the kilns are still up and running. I expect next week when I see you, I'm going to have some great newly, freshly glazed projects to show you out of the kiln. And last but not least, the bird, the test bird. I've shown you a picture here. I mentioned him last week. He has made it a full week out there in the Dahlia Garden. And so watch for the birds to be coming out next week. They're all just about ready to head out there. So the fantastical flock will be arriving next week. That's it for show and tell. Thanks so much for spending yet another Friday with me here in the studios. This whole video thing, it remains very, very strange to me. But what is not strange is getting in whatever way I am able to spend a little bit of time with all of you. I hope you remain well. I hope you have a great week. I'll see you next Friday in the studio at home. And on Wednesday, we'll have Brain Boot Camp again. Both of those shows are at 10 o'clock in the morning. Wednesday's Brain Boot Camp, Friday's Art at the Studio. That all came out a little bit jumbled, but hopefully Kelsey and Maria have sent you a piece of paper that tells you that too. Have a great week.